Today, I'm going to talk about compost tea. No, not that kind of tea. What I'm talking about is garden tea. No, not a tea garden, although that certainly looks nice. What I'm talking about is a bubbling pot of microbes and bacteria ready to turbocharge your soul's biological engine. There are many preparations one can buy. Ready, set to go with the biology in a state of suspended animation. Just add the biology and the fuel, sugars that is, to the air and the moisture, and you have turbocharged your soil's biological engine. There are also a great many components one can use at various stages to make teas for specific uses. These might be for more nitrogen, more phosphorus, or perhaps you want a microbe and bacteria predominant compost tea, or one that is mostly fungal dominant. But for today's video, we're going to use a pretty reliable source made here in California. It's called Boogie Brew, and the company is a pretty good resource for gardeners. It's a two-part mix, and ne'er the twain shall meet until you are ready to assemble the components. First, we have the sugars made of several materials. There's cane and molasses. Some of them are immediately available to feed the biology once it's assembled. Some will be available over some hours, and some not until nearly a day later. This gives a constant food source to the microbes during the one-day brew process. There are also a great many materials in this mix, such as volcanic ash, kelp meal, alfalfa meal, and other elemental ingredients that will help the biology in this bucket live and grow well as carry these microelements on into the soil mix. Here we have the microbes. They're in suspended animation. This is fine compost and worm castings, both of which can carry huge loads of microbes. They are mixed at a half cup each for a 5-gallon batch of tea. Now, remembering that the soil biological engine needs air and water and biology, we've assembled these components into a 5-gallon bucket with an aquarium heater to keep the suspension warm, keep the microbes actively reproducing, and air stones keeping the liquid circulating and well oxygenated. The air stones might be good to add a few hours beforehand if you have municipal water. Otherwise, the bacteria-killing chemicals in your water will kill these microbes and in your soil as well. As you run the air through for a few hours, it will remove most of the chemicals. Now we stretch a painter's strainer over the top. One air stone goes inside to keep it weighted down but off the bottom. That way it forces the materials we're dumping in to be in suspension and circulating well as being well aerated. You do not want any anaerobic bacteria to get a start in here. Dump your material in. I use the air bubbles to mix it a bit. Otherwise, for a full day or a bit over, leave it alone in a warm place out of too much direct sunshine. Let it bubble. The bacteria are said to often double in population every 90 minutes as long as their environmental conditions are met. This means that we'll be adding microbes to the soil at many hundreds of thousands of times its natural density. The microbes will go crazy in the soil. They'll be gobbling soil particles up, eating organic matter, tearing it down into humus. They exude acids that will help etch the soil mineral particles, helping break them down for future access by plants in the soil biology. This method does give some immediate release of nutrients, but it also releases nutrients slowly over time as these microbes die and their bodies are assimilated into the soil biology. For use in the garden, you mix it with regular water. Rainwater or well water is best. Again, you don't want to kill your microbes after spending time raising them by putting them in with chemically treated water. Mix rates vary. I sometimes use it 50-50, but most often I mix the 5 gallons with about 25 gallons of water in a trash can, and I dip out and water the small plants with the watering can. The larger plants like melon, squash, large corn might get it dumped directly from the bucket. This is excellent in open soil as the microbes might reach far beyond and colonize other spots, helping your entire soil biology out. Compost tea is also excellent in potted plants as it can release elements in the soil, and you might be adding elements not available in the soil mix. It's fine for seedlings. They like it, in fact. The idea here is you're feeding the engine of life with these microbes. They ravage through the soil like Pac-Man, gobbling everything up, leaving the soil with their manure and their dead bodies, flooding the soil with their fertility. Now, when it comes to cleanup, you do want to make sure that you wipe off that biofilm on the bucket. I use that and add it to the entire mix when I'm irrigating. You should also have the soil fairly moist beforehand, because you do not want to be dropping the microbes into dry soil that will not be a good environment for them. So irrigate beforehand, and then after we put the microbes on, we always irrigate afterwards to make sure that they get washed into the soil properly. Again, I highly recommend Boogie Brew, which is found online in their one-stop shop. Use Compost Teas for life. Supercharge your engine.